Okay, so I think this is part 6. So I've cut my pages down again, because you probably will, if you're on the ball, you'll have realised that I told you to cut your pages at 7¼ inches. So we're a little less than the width of this. And then I merrily cut all mine at 7½, which is the full width. So I've been back. I've cut another 1/4 inch off all my pages, and I've got one signature here. And I'm going to use this as the first signature for no particular reason, just because it was the first one I picked up. And I've cut the first page. As I said to you before, I'm going to use this as the first page in the signature. And because it's the first page, I've cut it to the full size that I need. So it's 7¼ that way, and the inside I'm measuring from the spine to the edge of the paper, at the edge of the cover, and I want my pages to be at least 1/4 inch in from that end. So I'm cutting these at 4 3/4. So the full width is 9½. So my first page here is 9½ by 7¼ and I'm going to fold that in half like so. I'm going against the grain so you can see that it's not folded particularly well, but I use this Teflon bone folder. These are quite expensive, but this has been worth its weight in gold. I use this probably every time I craft, really. This and my guillotine are probably my top 2 tools that I really couldn't be without. I really like this silicone spatula as well and lots of other things. So when that's in the journal, it will fit into it something like that at the front there. Okay, so this is my starting point for each signature, and I'm going to do my other pages to a similar size, and I alternate them. So I go patterned or speciality, plain, so on, all the way through. Because I've got 5 plain tea dyed and 6 of these, I know that I'll end up with, I'll have a pattern sheet on the outside and I'll have my pattern sheet in the middle. So with these pages, some of them I'm going to cut to size like this. So I'm not going to score them all properly at the moment. So this is how I start off. So this one I will cut down. This one as well, I'm going to cut to size. This is lightweight card, but it is quite thick, so that will go in there. And then our next plain piece, we're going to fold it a little bit differently because I don't want everything in the journal to be exactly the same. So I'm just going to fold this approximately to size, but so I've got this over, so I can either cut this off or I can fold it in, and we'll decide that in a minute. So that's going in there, and then we'll have this one, and then we'll go with another piece, which again I think I'll cut down. And if I'm folding pages, I would have a fold this side on one and this side on the next one. Does that make sense? So that all my folds or flaps in are not on the same side. It'll be obvious shortly. Hopefully it'll be obvious. I'm a bit out of practice with doing tutorials. There we go. So we'll cut this one to size again. So we'll just cut that one in half. And then I've got this one. And when I'm folding book pages, I quite like them I don't know, they just look right one way or the other. So this one, I wanted the white space at the top, so that's what I'm sticking to here. So that's inside there, and I've got another of these which we'll do another, perhaps a folded one or maybe not, we'll see. And our Edith Holden in the middle. So that's going to look something like that. So this is where I'm at when I initially start, and this is going to be my first signature. I have already folded the others in a similar way, so I've got my 3 signatures, and at this point I always just have a look, just a quick look to see how they're going to be really. And when those are cut down, I don't want them already pushing this journal cover too far out. So to me, I hope that's in shot, that looks pretty good actually. I might take this edge off. So we'll start with this signature, and this is really where I use this bone folder. So I start with my first one. My second page here, I said I was going to cut to size. So again, bone folder, pop it in, and this time I use a steel rule and a craft knife, and I just go to the edge. And remember, this is my way of doing it. A lot of people don't like their journals as precise or as neat as this. This is just my preference. This one I'm going to cut to size. I've got some craft paper. I would have stuck it to craft paper, but I don't have that. That one's just a fraction out, but I am going to trim that little fraction off. In there. The next one we might decide to fold, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a look at how this fits in here, and it's fine on this side. It's actually a little bit less than the page, and I think I'm going to fold this in to make a flap. So I hold my pages here at the spine, pop it down, and then just fold it so that this edge is just a fraction in from the edge of the underneath page. And the reason it's a fraction in is because when I come to cut the next ones, I don't want to cut that flap off. I do cut that flap off quite frequently. You'll see what I mean in a second. So let's do, we'll cut another one to size, exactly to size this time. So I've put my little page in there. That's obviously doesn't need any cutting down. That one's in there. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then I'm taking my craft knife, and if that fold on the previous page had been over the edge, hopefully it's worked. If that fold had been over the edge, I would have cut that flap off, but it has worked absolutely fine, so that's great. So I'm popping these back together as I go, and I often work when I'm doing this with just the next one along. So this time I've got my music paper. If you decided, something I could have done, which I didn't think about, I could have left this page longer and folded up a pocket. I do that sometimes, but it's not always easy when you do that to get the pages to lie nice and flat. So pop that one in. And I've got another folded page here, or a page with possibly with a flap on it. And this time the flap is going to be on this side of the centre fold. So again, we're in plenty of space here. Just going to hold this at the spine, set it down, open it, and I'm folding it in at the moment. We could always, at a later date, you could always fold that the other way if you wanted to have it coming towards you. So we're getting there. I've got this one. So I'm taking out, although I've got 2 pages here, I'm not using this one to measure my next page because it is a little bit smaller than the music page. And using a bone folder will make a massive difference to how well your signatures sit when we come to stitch them in later. I've got this one. Again, for the variety, I'm going to do another fold. And then my Edith Holden is going in the middle, and that should be fine. So that is our first signature done. So we've got obviously nothing. This one I'm going to stitch round to secure the edges and to add a bit of interest. I might decide to stitch some of the other pages as well, but we'll decide that as we go along. So signature number 1, and if you just bear with me, I'll do the others and come back and we'll move on. Thank you.